everybody, welcome to yoga with me, Yoga Kit. Today I'll be talking you through a really short morning sequence that's really great just for waking up the body and starting your day. It's something that I try and do every single morning if I possibly can, and it's just 5 core stretches that help to wake the body up, wake the mind up, stretch out every single part of you so that you're ready to go into your day fit and fighting. So let's get started. So the first pose we're going to go into is a child's pose, which is usually seen as a resting pose, but it is also a stretch. So to come into child's pose, just taking the knees out as wide as the mat, and then start to work your hands in front of you so that they're nice and stretched out. Spread the fingers nice and wide, and then just start to lower down through the forehead. You can also use a block and pop that underneath the forehead if you just need a little bit of support, and you can also pop something underneath the chest to rest the chest on, which is slightly more of a restorative version of this pose. So when we're in child's pose, essentially what we're doing is we're stretching out through all of the back, stretching out through the shoulders, we're stretching through the hips, and sort of taking that spine and finding some length in it. So this can be a really, really great pose to also kind of quiet down the mind if you're feeling any stress, any worries. Just closing down the eyes and just listening to the breath, breathing nice and deeply all the way down and expanding not just through the front of the chest but also through the back. So breathing into the back of the ribs, expanding through the lungs, and just taking the breath where it needs to go. So it's really quite a private pose as the head is down. Just taking 5 to 10 breaths here. Maybe every time you want to take the tailbone just a little bit closer to your heels, just to feel that full stretch, and take the arms out in front of you. Remember not to force anything, just work with the body. Remember, if you're doing this first thing, the body won't be super stretched out, so give it some time. If you hear any kind of clicks, that's fine. It's just waking up, creating space. And then when you've taken your 5 to 10 breaths, you can start to bring yourself up, remove any props that you've been using, and just bring yourself down onto the mat and come to lie on your back. Taking your left leg out lengthways and bringing your right knee in towards your chest. So we're going to move into our supine twist, which is a lovely kind of rotation and release for the spine. So inhaling, just drawing that right knee in, draw it in kind of into the chest, sort of towards your armpit. And then as you exhale, start to take that right knee over the body, just feeling the hip stretch as you take that right knee over. And you can bring it all the way down to the floor. You can also use a block to pop that knee on top of if you want to stay here for a little bit longer and you want to take a more restorative version. But if we're taking the knee all the way across, just maybe even placing that left hand on top of your your left thigh, just to ground yourself down. And then with your right hand, take it out to the right hand side and see if you can press your right shoulder into the floor again, just to feel that nice opening sensation through your right shoulder. You should feel that nice stretch through the middle, so through sort of the ribs and also the spine. And just remembering to breathe into the body, breathing into those areas of tension, just being really aware of how you're holding yourself in this pose, making sure that you're actually enjoying it. If anything feels uncomfortable and like it's not a stretch but it's actually a pain, then you can just ease off. Just those nice steady breaths. You can inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, or you can activate your Ujjayi breath, your inhale through the nose and out of the nose. And you can take 5 to 10 breaths on that side, and then just bring both the knees into the chest just for a moment. Give yourself a little bit of a hug, maybe bring the forehead to the knees, and then we'll switch sides. So taking your right leg out in front of you and hugging that left knee in. So just drawing it in towards you. And then as you exhale, just really gently, mindfully take it over to the right hand side, lowering that left knee down. You might need to shuffle back a little bit just to find a comfortable place on your right hip as you turn over. And then placing that right hand on top of your left thigh and taking the left arm out to the side. Again, you're just working into the spine at the moment this is a morning stretch. So if it feels stiff, that's fine. Don't force anything, just breathe into it. With every exhale, just sink a little bit deeper into this pose. And you can hold this pose for as long as you like. Maybe even closing down the eyes again. Just feeling the weight of the body press into the mat. Just allow the body to really sink into this stretch. And then after you've taken your 5 to 10 breaths, just drawing the knees in towards the chest. Again, giving yourself a nice little hug. So drawing the knees in, drawing the forehead towards the knees. And then we'll start to rock and roll ourselves up to seated. So bringing the legs over the head and just starting to create a little bit of motion. You can take as many of these as you need to kind of get yourself up to a seated position. And then once we're sitting up, just bring yourself kind of towards the back of the mat and take the legs out in front of you. So I talk about this pose quite a lot when I do my classes, but forward fold is one of the best poses that you can do, especially first thing in the morning. So it's got lots of benefits. So to prepare to get ourselves into the pose, we just want to first just remove any kind of unwanted flesh from underneath you. So you're really connecting the seat bones with the mat, so you're really grounded. Taking the legs out in front of you, making sure that your toes are flexed so they're facing upwards, and then just rolling your thighs inwards. And then on the next inhale, taking the spine so it's nice and long, inhaling, taking the arms all the way up and over the head. Just drawing that belly in, and then as you exhale, start to fall forward. So we're lengthening through the torso, and we're bringing our chest and our belly down, but we want to essentially shine the heart forward. So we're not just going like this, we're lengthening towards our feet, and we're bringing our hands either around the feet, we can take them around the ankles, or we can take them down to the mat. So whatever is more accessible for you. You can also use a strap around the feet if that feels better for you, and just remember that you can bend the knees, and you can even place a block underneath the knees if you need to, just need a little bit of support. So your blocks are really great, and they're such a great tool to use in yoga. So wherever you are, remembering to inhale to lengthen, exhaling, just reaching forward and feeling that nice stretch through the back of the legs, and also feeling that length through the spine. If there's any pulling in the lower part of the spine, then please ease off. Just make sure that you're looking after your back. So just really allowing yourself to settle into the pose. Try to soften through the shoulders, soften through the neck. And this is lovely for kind of waking up the legs, also waking up the spine, because when we lengthen through the spine, what we do is we create space through our vertebrae, which increases or kind of allows sort of a better blood flow, which then wakes up our nervous system, and it can really kind of invigorate us. It can also create a sense of calm, just lowering the head, closing the eyes, just allowing the brain to still. And again, staying with that lovely breath. So even though the chest is down, we can still expand through the ribs and the lungs at the back and breathe fully. So it's a really great way to kind of train ourselves to actually breathe correctly and breathe all the way down. So imagine there's two warm hands that are sort of hovering around the back of around your back, and you're breathing into them. So a nice full yogic breath. So taking 5 to 10 breaths here, and every time you take a breath, maybe working yourself a little bit further down, but if you can't, that's fine. It may come in time, it may not. As long as you're getting the benefit of the pose, then it doesn't really matter how it looks. And then gently On your exhale, you want to come back out. Just working yourself up. And then we'll bring the knees in, the feet in, sorry. Just crossing the legs, placing the hands in front of us, and moving ourselves to our all fours just for a second. So in your all fours, you want to make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulders, spreading the fingers nice and wide, especially pushing into the forefinger and the thumb, because what that does is it then protects the outer edge of the wrists, which are the weaker part. So when you found your positioning of your hands, just making sure your knees are hip width, tuck the toes underneath, engage through the core, so draw that belly in, and then inhaling, we start to lift up through the bottom, through the hips, taking that tailbone all the way up, coming into our downward facing dog. So keeping the knees bent here, you don't need to straighten them out, and then just starting to pedal through the feet. So you might hear some clicks or any kind of little noises, and it's just your body again kind of stretching out, waking up, little pockets of air popping. So don't worry, it's fine. Really push those hands into the mat, ground yourself down, have a micro bend in the elbows just so we're supporting and protecting our joints. Strengthen yourself through your shoulders so that we're not kind of sitting in our shoulder sockets. Feel that length through your spine. So taking the tailbone all the way up, and if we need to bend the knees to kind of encourage that, then bend the knees even further. That's absolutely fine. And again, if the heels are lifted, that's fine. It's not mandatory that you need to get them down onto the mat. With the head, just allow the head and the neck to kind of feel heavy. Allow them to flop through the arms, just to create even more length in the spine. And we'll stay here. You can blubber the lips. You can take some inhales and some exhales. Just every time settling a little bit further into that pose. Again, this is a great pose. This is almost an all over body stretch. So you're stretching the arms, the back, the legs. You're also in an inversion, so the heart is above the head, so you're getting lots of lovely oxygenated blood to the face, to the head. It can really create really good focus, kind of getting the head down, the heart up. And you can hold this pose for as long as you like. It's completely up to you. Now again, I like to hold for around 5 to 10 breaths. Remembering this is your practice, so if you feel like you need to take it a little bit longer, then it's completely up to you. And then when you're done, taking the gaze forward, inhaling, softly bending through the knees. And then we'll start to walk or step our feet in between our hands. Taking the feet so they're maybe hip width. Just allowing the head to hang just for a second, maybe shaking it, nodding it, just getting some movement into the spine, keeping the knees bent here. And then inhaling, we'll slowly start to rise up. Nice and slowly, just really feeling those vertebrae uncurling one at a time until we're gradually lifting ourselves up and we're at the top of the mat. So once we're here, we'll keep our right foot forward and we'll step our left foot back. So we're going to move into our warrior one pose. This is an amazing pose, and sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of an overlooked pose. So really pushing that right foot into the mat, squaring your hips to the front of the room or to the front of your mat, and your left foot is angled at around 90 degrees. On the inhale, we want to bend through our right knee, just making sure that it's stacking over our right ankle, and then inhaling, taking the arms all the way up. So we're really getting a lovely stretch through all of the body. So pushing that back foot really firmly into the mat, especially the little toe, because what that does, it almost makes us pivot up and really push into that back, into the back of the left leg, into the glute, and then really stabilizing through the front leg, again pushing all of the toes of the right foot into the mat. Just drawing that tailbone kind of down towards the earth, drawing the tummy in, and taking the arms all the way up and over the head. You can take the gaze up if that feels comfortable for the neck, or if not, you can just take the gaze forward. This is a really, really great pose to kind of create some body awareness, because there's quite a lot going on. And so we just have to be really mindful of where we're holding ourselves within the pose and within this space. So just checking where the arms are, just checking how the legs are positioned, you know, are we leaning forward? Can we push ourselves back? It's really, really great for all of that. It's also really, really great pose just to stretch the whole body, and it gives us a bit of energy because we're really, really reaching up and just kind of taking our arms up to the sky. And then you can close the eyes, just really enjoy the stretch. And maybe on every inhale and exhale, just bending a little bit deeper into that right knee. So 5 to 10 breaths. And then when you're done, just straightening through the front leg. You can take a vinyasa if you wish, because it's first thing in the morning. I just tend to bring my left foot forward and take my right foot back. So again, just finding that really nice positioning. So left foot is forward, right foot is back, angled at around 90 degrees. And then we inhale to reach the arms all the way up, this time bending into our left knee and taking the right leg out behind us. So pushing into that back foot, really kind of pushing into the blade edge of the right foot, that little toe, lengthening all the way up, taking the tailbone down towards the earth, just drawing that belly in and having a proud chest. You can stay here as long as you like, as long as you can. It's quite an intense stretch. You could even switch it around and maybe inhale to take the arms up, exhale to release. Whatever feels good for you. Just do what feels nice. Do what you feel is going to wake your body up. Remember, I'm just guiding you, but this is your practice. And then when you've done, exhaling, just straightening through that front leg. You can step your right foot to the front, maybe shake it off. And we're done. So thank you for joining me in that really short practice. I hope you'll get to try out those poses, just those really 5 easy stretches, just to wake the body up, wake the mind up, ready for your day. And I'll see you next time. Namaste.